the tight end position. And, of course, Amir Jackson committed last cycle, and it's certainly viewed as a big-time receiving threat from the tight end spot with his 6'5", 220-pound frame. I mentioned earlier, Will, about getting wide receivers that are bigger frame. Well, Jackson at the tight end spot can be viewed as that as well. He shines when getting vertical for the ball. He, times his jumps well, is more of a bigger receiver playing tight end. He's far from a finished product, though, so making him even more an intriguing prospect. But Jackson's versatility, pass catching, fluidity for bigger athlete is what makes him intriguing, and just how he fits into Napier's offense. So I think looking ahead, Florida may need more combo tight ends or pure tight ends to kind of, I think, maybe pair with Amir Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I mentioned, or I alluded to it. There's not a lot of tight ends on the roster. I mean, you got Arliss Boardingham, Hayden Hansen, and then Tony Livingston, and then you got Amir Jackson, and that is it, right? And so, we've talked a lot about stacking, and we've talked a lot about, hey, you got to win a competition to get out on the field. Nobody's got to win a competition to get out of the field in this one. It's show up and we need you, especially considering how much Billy Napier likes playing 12 personnel. The reality is that they need more tight ends. They need more bodies, irrespective of talent. Now, obviously, the guys we're going to talk about are talented players as well, but to me, that's like the gaping hole in the recruiting for Billy Napier over the last few years has been tight end. They just haven't been able to stack multiple tight ends each year the way they have it running back or the way they have it wide receiver, and that's going to have to change, especially given some of the things they want to do on offense. I mean, again, I go back to the Super Bowl. One of the big things that the 49ers do is they've got a bunch of guys who are interchangeable. So on the third down and 4, not in overtime, but in at the end of the game, I believe it was, when they could have iced the game away and then kicked a field goal. It was George Kittle who's in the backfield as a running back and missed the pass protection on the free running blitz from Kansas City. But the fact that the 49ers have guys that are interchangeable and you can move around frees up that offense to do a whole lot of different stuff. And, we talked a lot when Billy Napier was hired that his offense in many ways sort of replicates that Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan type of offense. But you can't do anything if you're all wide receivers and running backs, because it eliminates the advantages that you get by having guys who can block and catch at the same time. Arliss Boardingham's probably the closest we've seen to a guy who has the skills to do both of those, but certainly that we talked about sort of 3-down running backs, 3-down linebackers. In some ways, having a 3-down tight end becomes a really critical thing for Florida and their offense.
All right, so who can those guys be? Let's take a look. Let's start with Temez Young, the 3-star prospect, stands at 6'4", weighs 205 pounds, considered a mismatch in the passing game. A Tampa native, so staying close to home and playing for the in-state Gators is an attractive option. He's expected to make a date decision in the spring. Florida and West Virginia lead the race right now, so it looks like it's only a 2-team race right here for the 692nd ranked player overall, but 600 on 3. So given Florida's strong position with other tight end options, they may need to decide soon, and hard to see if Florida would not be the choice if Young makes a decision soon. Hayden Bradley out of Buford, Georgia, just received an offer from the Gators and is looked at as more of a pure tight end, 6'5", 215-pounder, Peach State native. Not ranked by any major recruiting services, but that will change in the near future. Corey Bender from On 3 does say he should be getting ranked pretty soon. Certainly has not affected his stock, though, as nearly 30 programs are on board with an offer. I did say Florida's a great school, definitely a top school on my offers list. Bradley told Gators Online, Coach Billy Napier came by the school. I got to spend some time with him, which was awesome. I have also formed a great relationship with tight ends coach Russ Callaway. Currently, Bradley's significant interest in the program is evident through his close relationships. Once he visits the campus, those connections are likely to strengthen even more. I love their knowledge of the game and how they expect to use me over at Florida, said Bradley. Getting down to Florida has been the main thing, so I will be scheduling to go down there during the spring. Me and the coaching staff have built a great relationship, which is huge in my recruitment. So if you go look at Buford, they run the type of offense that kind of shows off the jumbo receiver, but pure tight end who lines up at the Y position in line with the tackle. So there are blocking concepts, situations, kind of going to your point, Will, blocking concepts, situations similar to what NFL teams run with the tight ends, down blocking on defensive ends, and that's what Bradley demonstrates. So he also demonstrates the strong ability to catch the ball, use his frame effectively, catching several jump balls and full extension passes. Athletically, he impresses where, with plays he's used as a vertical threat, a second level target on play action. His ability to get open and operate within a vertically based offense is a positive attribute. Bradley's highlight reel showcases a good balance of blocking, catching, play action, positional flexibility. He appears to be an ideal fit for the Florida offense. Other offers come from Michigan, Miami, Oregon, Ole Miss, West Virginia, Penn State, Texas A&M, South Carolina. So not ranked, but he's got that offer seat. That's why people would think that will change coming up. So consistent communication with those. A couple more here. Caden Peening from Ohio just announced his top 10 of Florida, Louisville, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Pitt, UCF, Virginia, Michigan State, Stanford, Arkansas, and Illinois. 6'4", 230 pounds, hails from Ohio, but spent much of his life in the state of Florida before moving to Ohio. Some recruiting him as a combo wide receiver and tight end, but the Gators want him as a pure tight end. He studied to Corey Bender from Gators Online. Florida's a great school, and I've heard nothing but great things about their program. A Florida offer is huge in my recruitment and definitely sparks an interest to learn more about their program and see if it's a good fit for me and my family. In his junior year, Peening caught 35 passes, 624 yards, scored 5 touchdowns, also contributed by running for 2 additional touchdowns. Last one, Hollis Davidson, sizable outside receiver type at the tight end spot. He's an Auburn commit from Georgia, 6'5", 238 pounds, committed to the Tigers in early February, shortly after visiting Florida for junior days. Before his commitment, Davidson did list Florida in his top 7, so didn't spend too much time on him. He's the highest ranked tight end at the spot, but committed to Auburn. Probably going to be tough to pull him away from Auburn. So, Will, like you said, not a crazy amount of options at tight end. Nothing as far as rankings go to go up there with Amaris from Jackson from the last class. Tavez Young, Hayden Bradley seems to be, I think, the two likely here to be one tight end for Florida this cycle, or maybe bring in both.
Yeah, I mean, I think given what Napier wants to do, he needs to bring in 2. I think there's just value in having bodies in the room, and you can, irrespective of what the rankings are, you need to have the guys who can help you execute your offense. I suspect Florida's gone 11 personnel, 1 tight end, 1 running back, more than they would have liked, just because they're limited in terms of what they can do at the tight end position. And bringing in a guy like Young and a guy like Bradley would at least allow you to start putting those things into your system. The reality is they're going to have to hit the transfer portal pretty hard at the tight end position, I think, over the next year or so to really fill that space out. There's nobody here that profiles as a star. That doesn't mean they can't be a star, but nobody here profiles as a star. And, we've seen what can happen to an offense, even with quarterbacks that you'd maybe go, are they really all that good? At places like Georgia, where they've got, when they had Bowers and Washington both there at tight end, that offense was really, really dynamic. It makes a difference. And Florida hasn't been able to do that yet, hasn't been able to recruit those guys yet. Hopefully, Amir Jackson is part of that. Hopefully, him and Boardingham and Hansen can really sort of be a great combination this year and allow maybe tight end recruits to see, hey, this is what you can do at Florida. But certainly, this is a weak spot, has been a weak spot since Billy Napier got here, and is continuing to be a relative weak spot compared to some of the recruits we've already talked about at the different positions so far.